So whether you're a parent, guardian, grandparent, uncle, auntie, godparent, legal guardian, whatever the case may be, most likely if you have any kids in your life that you care about, you want them to have a better start in their adult life financially than you may have had, or you want to build on top of the type of start you may have had if you came up pretty good. And in this video, it's dedicated to you. It's dedicated to those who have children in their lives in some capacity or another, and they want to contribute to their adulthood and their next generation through laying out a solid financial basis for them to get started with. So we're going to cover the various ways that you can assist or benefit your kids or young ones as they're coming up into their adulthood. We're going to lay out different strategies and tactics and the framework you should have in your mind around deciding which one of these strategies and tactics is going to work best or add the most value to that child when they become a young adult. So this is JP from Blueprint for Prosperity, helping you to increase your net worth through relationship banking, maximizing your borrowing capacity, proper use of life insurance, the ownership of real estate. I want you guys to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon. I'm uploading content on a daily basis to help you accomplish your blueprint for prosperity. So if you have any kids, whether they're teenage, toddlers, still in diapers, whatever the case may be, your primary focus on top of raising them from the point they are now is also trying to prepare them for the future. As you guys as adults may already know, our economy is shifting at a rapid pace. By the time our children start to step in and take leadership in this world and start to become the functioning and working class adults, things are going to be pretty different than they were when we were coming through. So what are some different tactics and strategies you can put in place to try to lay things out for your kids so they can have a pretty solid start in their adult lives when it comes to their finances? The first topic that you're going to be able to have the biggest impact on and direct transfer to your children or kids is going to be credit. Credit is something that is not going anywhere in our economic system. It's going to shift forms as time goes along. It's going to look a little different. But the reality of it is the financial system is going to still favor integrity, financial integrity. Lenders, bankers, and anybody that's going to be doing business, as you can see, actually credit is broadening itself out. It's dipping into employment, insurance. You can use your credit now to finance out everyday purchases. It's everywhere, and it's only going to get deeper into our financial system as time goes on. How can you transfer credit to your kids? Well, one of the most effective ways you can do that, two ways. Number one, you got to stay alive. And number two, you have to maintain your personal credit so you can use different financial tools to pass it along to your children. A couple ways you can do this is one is going to be authorized user trade lines. So this is one of those areas that has had a shade of gray because of the industry that's cropped up around authorized user trade lines. And it's only gotten muddy because different companies have created the capacity for individuals to basically borrow or rent people's trade lines that they don't know. And that's not quite what the intention was when this concept was put in place back in the inception of credit cards. Authorized user trade lines are very powerful foundational accounts for kids, minors, or anybody who's starting out their financial journey when it comes to credit or rebuilding. It has its place, and it is best and most ethical when it is someone you actually know you're getting the trade line from. So for you as guardians or parents, what you need to be focused on is having one or more credit cards that you manage for a long period of time, that you manage responsibly. And that means keeping your utilization under 30%, ideally under 10%, no late payments whatsoever, allowing that account to age, so not closing out the account, obviously, and being able to take your child as young as some cases is 13, but at least by 18. It depends on the financial institution. I believe companies like American Express will allow you to add an authorized user at the age of 13, or maybe it's Chase Bank. It just depends. But there are institutions, and you can dig into your terms and conditions to find out the authorized user age limits. But you can add your children sometimes as young as 13, or at minimum by 18 by the time they actually start to need credit. This is a huge way that you can add a huge boost for them, because authorized user trade lines will likely lead them to their own unsecured accounts in their adult lives themselves. The next tactic that you can use is being able to support them through co-signing. When they go out to get some of their first trade lines of their own, it might be a car or just basic personal loans. You can co-sign with them. Of course, there's a little bit of risk here because if this goes wrong, you got to take the hit as well. But obviously, it's your kids or grandkids. Hopefully, you raise them to be responsible and they actually perform the way you raised them. And you co-sign for them and teach them how to build these accounts up on their own. And you can do this effectively if your credit is strong. The next thing you want to have in place for them is capital. And there's several different ways you can break down having capital ready for these kids by the time they're at the age where they can really put it to use. It depends on your risk tolerance and the level of control that you want over this money. So I'm going to give you a varied set of options routes that you can take to put capital away for your kids as they become adults. Number one is going to be the most basic, and that's going to be deposit accounts, CDs, and savings accounts. That's easy money. That's going to be you putting your account into a FDIC insured savings or CD, letting it get that, interest rate, whatever that interest rate may be, and riding it out over time. The safety net to this is that money is the principal will be protected and insured. It's going to get a consistent interest rate, and it's going to be kind of out of sight, out of mind. The offset to this is that it's not going to keep up with inflation and the purchasing power, especially depending on how long you're letting this money sit. If the child is, younger, then the purchasing power of this money is going to be definitively eroded by the time they get their hands on it. So if you're not willing to take a lot of risk and you just want to store some principal up, then savings or CDs may be a good way to go. The next level you can go to would be state supported and state funded, state offered college educational plans. Every state has them. Most commonly known as 529 or Coverdell plans, but basically this is going to allow you to contribute to your child's education, college education, and sometimes one of those accounts doesn't necessarily have to be college. It can be several different forms of education and schooling. You do your research on that. I'm actually going to drop some videos on that pretty soon, specifically around 529 and the Coverdell plan. But generally speaking, for the sake of this video, this is state-sponsored educational programs, investments that you can put into play and targeted towards that child's education. If you're pretty confident or know for sure that they're going to be going deep into their education or deep into college, and that can be a huge financial boost for them, contributing to the reduction of debt that they can accumulate through student loans in the future. So do your research on state-sponsored educational plans and programs. That's a great option if you want to focus on the educational aspect. The deficit on that, again, purchasing power, it's going to take a little bit of a hit. These may not keep up with inflation. The other side of that is also a limit of control. You're limited to where you can invest this money within those plans. So if you're somebody who wants more control, this may not be the best option for you. Next option. The next option you can go to is going to be either setting up a brokerage account, which will allow you to have a more custom investment strategy and give you a great opportunity to keep up with inflation. But this is going to be a higher risk because you're going to be into the stock market at this point in time. But you can set up a brokerage account that you can fund however you want to fund, as much as you want to fund, invest it how you pretty much want to invest it, as far as across individual companies or ETFs, mutual funds, bonds, whatever the case may be. Let that money grow, hopefully keep up with inflation and be a nice goose egg by the time that child gets to legal age. The next option that you want to focus on is going to be setting up some kind of business / investment for this child if you're in position. And this doesn't have to be complicated. If you yourself are already a business owner and you're in the type of business that you can see your child or children potentially being able to work into or possibly even take over at some point in time, this will be a great opportunity for you to legally structure it where your kids can be involved early or they can immediately be involved when they become young adults. This is going to put them in a great position because now there's going to be this functioning, aged business entity that they can tack their names onto and take the benefits of. And that's including business benefits, potential tax benefits, and income opportunities. This just puts them in a great position as well as experience. So this is something you want to consider. You also consider buying and holding a rental property for these kids. You can structure it where you can buy a rental property and tie your kid into that. That's a phenomenal opportunity as well. I mean, when you think about it, it kind of checks a lot of different boxes. It's a business entity if you allow it to be and set it up to be. It produces cash flow. It's going to grow equity, hopefully, over time. It's highly likely to keep up with inflation, continued increase in rent revenue. And this is also something that will give an educational experience for that child when they become a young adult, to put this kind of thing on their mind and give them exposure early, which has massive underrated benefits. So this is just something to think about, that the average everyday person can do for themselves. Any of these things can be accomplished with a pretty reasonable amount of money. I mean, the reality of it is, the least risk you're taking, the more money you're going to need to have for it to really have any value. But if you're willing to take the investment route, the business route, rental property, these routes, if you start out, a few $1,000s, or maybe a down payment on an investment property might be $5,000, $10,000 or $15,000, $20,000, depending on what market you're in. You need to visualize these ideas based on your particular situation and say, which one of these strategies is going to fit my situation and work out best for this child going forward? Because obviously your situation is going to be unique. You may have a child that may not likely go to college, and so the educational program might not make sense. The real estate prices where you're comfortable investing may be out of range, so that might not be an option. You just need to kind of weed out and figure out what's going to fit, but you need to do something. The economy is going to be, more likely than not, it's going to be tougher to start from the bottom for these kids and keep up with that fast changing pace that our economy is starting to pick up to. And you just want to make things as balanced for them as possible. You may not want to raise trust fund babies, but you want to give them a position to get a high quality of life as early as possible. And these financial strategies, tips, and assets can do just that. So thank you for tuning in. I know this was valuable for you. I want you guys to like the video, comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know some things you're already doing. Let me know some things you plan to do. And let me know what you took away from this video. This is JP from Blueprint for Prosperity, checking out. I want you guys to stay focused, stay in motion. See y'all soon.